Do a little thought experiment with me. Pretend that you're a liberal. Don't do any heavy drinking or anything like that. Take care of yourself. Be careful. Just pretend that you're a liberal. Now, pretend that someone is running for public office, say Texas Attorney General, and this person runs a campaign promising to destroy Joe Biden any way that she can. Says she's going to dig into his finances, says she's going to dig into his taxes, into every move that he's ever made. And then that person wins, then proceeds to do something for the first time in modern history, does exactly what they actually campaigned for, which is impressive. I'll give her that. Do you think you would stand for that? I mean, do you think, as a liberal, as an American, or whatever, if you were a liberal who really, really believed that you were the only one who could protect and save democracy, do you think that you might see stopping that as part of your democracy saving duties? Or would you be silent? I mean, whether we like it or not, that is exactly what has gone on in New York. And that's exactly what is still happening in New York. And Donald Trump's attorney, Alina Habba, who I really, really like, she says that she can prove a link between all this communist type justice and the White House.
What will happen is that the bond will be held effectively in escrow by the appellate division so that we can lay that case out. And what we asked them to do was prevent Miss James and this judge from moving forward with taking assets that we could never get back because the bond was so insane that nobody had ever heard of it, that the largest insurance carriers couldn't do it, wouldn't do it, unless you effectively have $1 billion in cash sitting in your bank, which is poor judgment if you are a wealthy individual. You put that money to work, just like Trump does. So, the 175 million, yeah, it's a lot of money, and it's insane that we're even in this situation. However, we had to pay it so that we could be afforded some due process and have them look at what happened in that trial that I sat through for the better of 4 months.
I just don't understand how an appeals court could look at a case where, again, to restate it, but I mean, you have the bank that it would allegedly be the victim in a case like this. They're testifying on behalf of former President Trump and saying they do it all over again. Their actuaries looked over his valuations. They said they were fine. How the hell do you not throw something like that out?
Right. It's not just that. Also, Rob, we had ridiculous rulings day in, day out. Gag orders. Speaking of the gag order that came out today, yeah. I was gagged. As an attorney, officer of the court representing a client, I was gagged in court. Now, that's very different than Alina Habba, spokeswoman, can't go on TV. I was not only not allowed to go on TV, I couldn't speak in court and put things on a record so that I had a record for appeal on certain issues that we felt were very important. So I think cases like this, where, for lack of a better word, the Trump derangement takes over and their judgment as attorneys and judges fails them. They are easier to win on an appeal than others, yep. But it does take those judges to take off any political animus or bias and apply rule of law and the law to fact. And if they do so, Rob, I really do believe we will get this reversed.
Here's the thing, man. Every single thing about this case, from the moment it became a campaign promise to the $18 million half-witted valuation of Mar-a-Lago, which nobody believes, only the propagandized, serious polluted people around us think that makes actual sense, to the fact that it was decided in summary judgment before the trial, means the judge just decided he was guilty and the trial was going to be used for setting the fine, to that egregious fine itself, that literally appears to be arrived at out of thin air, which the Attorney General herself then trolled Donald Trump with by posting the Daily Interest as a tweet, which I guess she just viewed as like making a campaign promise good, I guess. I don't know. Literally everything about this case is so egregious that even if the appeals judges do harbor some sort of political animosity, they can't possibly uphold this. This thing goes against everything and anything that they've ever even pretended to believe in. And I can't imagine a world where this doesn't get corrected.
That one's ridiculous. The Mershon case, the Alvin Bragg, Stormy Daniels case. I mean, you have a Biden donating judge, and leading the case is this guy Matthew Coangelo, who Trump talks about a lot lately, who has worked in Biden's DOJ and with Letitia James. So basically, Biden's DOJ, which we know he controls because we know that him and Merrick Garland are boys, they send up this guy to work on these state cases that aren't directly connected to the DOJ. So now everything is kind of under the DOJ's purview in one way or another. They have their people controlling these outside cases. And you know that Merrick Garland is, is on board with the Biden agenda. This is filthy dirty, and nobody is watching, and nobody has a problem with this?
Yeah, he's the puppeteer effectively, and so is the current president, or resident, as I call him, in the White House. He is truly, there is obviously a coordinated effort. There's no question about that. If you have a question about that, go pick up Pomerantz's all his statements and look at them.
Right.
Back in the day, this case was looked at, it was investigated, charges were not brought, indictments were not made because they knew the case was not real. Then he ran for office. They bring the charges. If you look at that timeline alone, I want to know how they're going to wipe this story away, because it speaks volumes. You didn't bring the charges. You said there was no story. You actually lost people that had left law firms solely to intimidate and corroborate against Trump. And then he runs for office and they bring an indictment on this case. And that case that's going forward in April is another disgrace and shows the demise of the state of New York, which I used to love. It's disgusting. Just look at the White House logs. If anybody wants to tell me something's not coordinated, explain to me why a state official, why people that are supposed to be elected by their state and working for their state constituents is now working with the White House administration. It makes no sense.
These people are literally doing everything they possibly can to destroy New York State. Either they're doing it on purpose, or they really, really don't mind catastrophic collateral damage as long as they get to get Trump. Or most likely, they just aren't that smart, and they really, really cannot see the likely consequences of their actions, which, when you're a liberal politician, in their defense, you very rarely ever have to live with the consequences of your own actions. Defund the police? No, not for you. You'll have security. Food inflation? No, it's not going to matter to you. Somehow you'll be able to turn a couple $100,000 a year into millions and millions of dollars. And this is why they don't think about where their actions lead. But anyway, she made some great points, man. One of which I hadn't thought of, and she's absolutely right. She says Bragg's office did initially say that there was no case here. And that's true. Until Donald Trump ran for office, they didn't think that there was a case worth pursuing. And my question is this: with as clear as these things are to see, how is it possible that the whole get Trump fantasy, orange man bad propaganda is so strong with our fellow citizens, man, that they can not only ignore all this stuff, but they're literally cheering it on, man. It's insane. It is completely and totally insane. But that's just my take, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And how do we reach these people, man? Guys, if you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.